It doesn't mean ignoring the world. It means finding your center so that you can respond with clarity and strength, and more importantly, so that you can create. When you create with clarity and strength, you're not just responding to others. You're not responding to what the world is doing. You might be responding, but you're responding to an inspiration, an innovation. You're responding to an inner knowing. Welcome back to the Art of Awakening podcast, where the art of living awake becomes a daily practice. We want it to be accessible. Hello there, I'm your host, Dr. Sue Morter, and today we are diving into navigating uncertainty. It's certainly a good time for that in our world. In a world that is filled with uncertainty and anxiety and rapid change, it is certainly easy to feel overwhelmed, right? We're constantly questioning everything and questioning ourselves right inside of everything. So, what if this, all right? What if disillusionment isn't something to fear? What if it's actually a cosmic invitation to awaken to a deeper version of you, to a deeper truth? Hmm. In this episode, we're going to explore how disillusionment is necessary. It's a necessary part of growth and awakening, and why calling your power back is the key to stability, and how to embrace uncertainty as an opportunity for freedom and clarity can be some of the most important choices of your day. So, disillusionment is a part of awakening. We've all experienced moments where we thought life was one way, only to discover it wasn't. It's totally different. And how we handle that moment has everything to do with our future. It has everything to do with our fulfillment of our own true destiny. So let's take a look at some of those things, all right? So, whether it's the loss of a relationship or a job or even childhood beliefs, these moments of disillusionment are a part of our evolution. So think of it this way. If you were believing in something that was smaller than the reality that you are meant to know, you're actually going to have to become disillusioned for a moment before you open, or as you open to this bigger reality. But what happens is we get hung up right there on the disillusionment part. We get hurt, we get disappointed. Can you believe this? And we tell our story and we get caught up in that, and we get loved and get compassion from others while we're telling our story of disillusionment. So we get caught right there in a moment of thinking that while I'm hurting here, I'm receiving something that, feels good. So right there, we can start to establish a way of being that limits our capacity to truly become the creator that we are, to realize it, to actualize it, to have the lived experience of the truth of who we are. And so it's part of how we evolve, right? Now, the pain of disillusionment often comes from feeling like the ground beneath us is shifting. But what if that shift is actually pulling us upward? Kind of dislodging us from what we were stuck in this horizontal world where we've been operating in a stimulus response, attempt to, make better, to survive, to, make the best out of a bad situation on the backside of the model of consciousness. And so, what if it was actually pulling you into a higher perspective, where the bird's eye view, where you could see a bigger picture and operate from a greater truth all at the same time? So every up-leveling comes with greater access to unconditional love. Now let's think about this. So disillusionment actually leads to a greater degree of unconditionality, which is love itself. So let's not be so afraid the next time that something just doesn't go the way that you thought it was going to, or that you start to lose faith in how things are operating. When you have that in a bigger context, there's something magnificent that is unfolding for you. And if you can just let that happen, you end up with a greater sense of wisdom without the angst and the anger and the hurt and the suppression that we oftentimes carry when we think, I've suffered a lot, I fought hard to get get here. And even though all those people were bad and wrong and all those things that happened shouldn't have happened, I'm still here. That's not exactly the celebration that we're looking for. While it does feel more empowering than being, swallowed up inside of circumstances that felt completely out of our control, it ultimately isn't going to land you where you're headed. It's not what you're ultimately interested in. So when we let go of what we thought was true or how things were supposed to go, etc., we create space for something more expansive and authentic to emerge. We literally awaken into a greater reality. Now, sometimes in that greater reality, emotions are going to have to play a different role. Emotional energy is potent and powerful energy that fuels us like no other. It magnifies and amplifies. It allows for things to be recorded in memory much more sustainably. And so when emotion is on our side, when we're on a roll and the emotions are high, it's uplifting and exalting to us and brings us into, nearly the impossible. It brings us high into the realms that we seek and desire. And when emotion is an upleveling or an uprising, I should say, of energies that had been suppressed for a long time because we were trying to control circumstances, still trying to get that outcome we were looking for, suppressing our anxiety or suppressing our fear, our hurt, or our anger. What's going to happen at some point is that's got to come up. It has to be released because nature abhors a vacuum. And so we're creating that dissonant energy when we pack energy inside of our system instead of letting it just flow. And as we do start to let it flow again, those emotions are going to rise. And so what's coming up is the stuff that was so hard to deal with. We shoved it down. So when it starts to come up, it's like, oh my gosh, what do I do with it? So, being anchored in your body, the anchor points, which are easy to find, to learn in working with me, and almost every course or oftentimes in interviews that I'm doing all around the world all the time, you have access to learning about those anchor points. You have been shown those anchor points in previous podcasts. We were first starting out our podcast series. And so, go back to some of the originals and check them out and learn how to anchor yourself in the body because when you're anchored in those anchor points and you're breathing in the central channel the way that I teach, here's what happens. Those emotions start to rise and just flourish. And you don't get hooked in to any one of them. You just let them move through. Because when you let them move through, it purifies the emotional frequencies into the actual energies that you are meant to be running on as pure, clean fuel instead of dissonant energies, energies of angst and anger and frustration and hurt and agitation and apathy and pessimism and so on. Yeah, no fun when we get hooked into any one of those. So we want to anchor ourselves in a way that this toric field flow allows them to just come and go until they're being refined in the system because we're using this washing machine of the toric field the way that it was designed to be used. You've got one and you know how to use it. And if you don't know how to use it, it's easy to find. I'm all about that. I don't want to repeat it here now because I've spent lots of time on it and I want to get into, the details of the power of how we can navigate this uncertainty and move into, true clarity. Pure clarity is unwavering that allows you to see straight through things that are not true and straight through into what is true, most importantly, and to cultivate it and to keep your singularly focused mind on that so that it has an opportunity to manifest and to flourish in your life. And that it is the certainty that everyone is looking for. It's felt. Certainty will be felt before it is known on a conscious level. It will be felt as a stability inside of you. So we often, so often, give our power away. We externalize it, we other it without even realizing it. And when we rely on external circumstances like the relationship or the person or people in those relationships, jobs or the feedback we get from those jobs or societal structures or the inclusion of things with friendships and dynamics and circumstances and the achievements, when we're tagging our certainty on all of that externalization, of course, we're in deep trouble. And yet we all know this. We've heard it before, but we do it anyway, right? We get just like hooked in. We just want a little bit of that. Just give me some of that. And the next thing you know, we're scooping it up in large proportions and we're disempowering ourselves again. So every time you plug into this podcast, just create a ritual for yourself that you find those anchor points and you're breathing in the central channel the whole time that we're talking. And you'll start to build photon density in the core of your being. And that photon density gives you a sense of self. And that sense of self, that true self, is made of this vertical alignment that traverses through the multiple dimensions right here. In other words, there's nothing that you're not. You're everything. You're made of everything, and you feel it. You feel like you've got this. You belong. Like this is okay. You can do this in a way that doesn't have to be so hesitant and second guessing and all authoritative and looking for someone to tell you what to do, etc., or bossing other people around just to feel some false sense of strength. All of that dissolves, and you start walking in your own sovereignty, your wholeness, your individuation, an individuation of the unified field. That's what you are. I mean, it's pretty potent when you think about it that way. It's pretty beautiful. And when we start to allow that to be true in our vibrational field, our thoughts are attracted to similar, we start thinking in terms of certainty instead of worst case scenario. We start thinking in terms of creativity instead of what could go wrong, instead of fear based decisions, protection methodology. We proceed forward with what we choose. We just proceed forward with what we choose. Now, knowing what to choose comes from being anchored deep in your core. If you're having a difficult time knowing what to do in a situation or a time frame or even a phase of your life, maybe that phase has lasted, like 30 years. That's okay. If you're having trouble making decisions, feeling certain, knowing what direction to go, I guarantee that when you call your power back by coming onto self, onto subject with your attention, just come into your body instead of always thinking about all the things that I should be, asking or wondering about or adding up all the analysis of what could possibly go wrong. Just come home to yourself. Take a breath in your belly, soften your solar plexus, drop your shoulders, lean back against your own spine, not necessarily against the chair, but back against your own spine so that you can feel yourself in there. And that photon density generates a sense of self that is the self that you're looking for, because that energy is of the unified field, just compressed into a pattern that is this toric field flow. And you've built a body inside that toric field flow, and that body is the thing that you think is I am. Well, you are the whole energy system that is doing all of that so that you can come into this physical dimension and, walk around the planet, and engage in this physical playground. And so when you call your power back, that stability comes from within. It's not about controlling the external world. It's about anchoring yourself in your own wholeness. It's a totally different approach to life. It's a quantum flip into how we're supposed to be operating. So just do that. Just take a deep belly breath, roll your shoulders up and back and down, drop your blades down your back, let your heart be free, and take a big breath that softens your solar plexus. And you'll figure out how to do that. It's right where your ribs splay apart. Just live right in there. Because when you do, your wisdom and your heart get connected with your personal identity. So now you're living and breathing as wisdom and love. Now, there's nothing more powerful than that. So what we see in the world is an invitation to go inward. That's what's actually going on right now. When we feel overwhelmed by the news and societal shifts and social norms shifting and people not knowing what to do and even global uncertainty, it's a call to withdraw your senses inward, to reconnect with a deeper truth. It doesn't mean ignoring the world. It means finding your center so that you can respond with clarity and strength, and more importantly, so that you can create. When you create with clarity and strength, you're not just responding to others. You're not responding to what the world is doing. You might be responding, but you're responding to an inspiration, an innovation. You're responding to an inner knowing, a an eternal wisdom that is rising in you specifically, to come out through you specifically, into your world specifically. Because when we all do that, we begin to change the world collectively because we are operating from a place of creative love. So the quantum self is that. The quantum self, this quantum flip of moving from responding to the horizontal world to responding to the vertical influx of truly divine light, higher frequency light. We call it divine. It's multidimensional. Some people steer away from the word divine. I like to bring it in because it's sacred. It's different than multidimensional. Multidimensional is a scientific reality, and sacred energy is always including the heart. And when we have all of it combined, we're able to truly melt away because we're not using our mind to do that. We melt away the veils with love. Love is the universal solvent. Love is the one vibration that embraces all vibrations in the quantum self. Truly, to be effective in this realm must be anchored in love. Okay. So, when it is present in this way, when you are operating in this way, you're not just a linear being reacting to life. You're a quantum being capable of perceiving the whole picture. And when you're capable of perceiving the whole picture, you come from love. You come from possibility. You come from everyone wins. You come from a place where I can achieve and so can you. I can bring you along with me. I can show you the way, and then you'll show me a way, and then I'll show you a way. And in that, together we are more starts to really mean something more. And when we stop focusing on individual problems and instead view life from a broader perspective in this way, we start to see and feel and experience this interconnectedness of everything. And when we start to sense and feel the interconnectedness of everything, we see that when I go down the street and I turn right, the exact right thing is going to be waiting for me right there to confirm what I was wondering, to celebrate what I was desiring. It's right there. And at the same moment that that's happening, something else is releasing, and we're letting go of something almost automatically without even realizing it because we're moving towards something. Things are falling off all the while because we're paying attention and being what we're truly here to be. So, overwhelm happens when we're not doing that, when we're just playing too small. Overwhelm happens when we think that the vessel is this big and that which is trying to fill the container is this big. And so we have to open. And the moment that we open, overwhelm begins to dissolve. If you open your system, literally open your heart and open your throat and open your solar plexus, soften it and breathe in your belly and allow this waterfall to pour into you, what happens is it becomes whelm. You're to the brim with resource. You're to the brim with potentiality, and you feel it. And when you can feel that, it 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 begins to guide the decisions that you make. It begins to influence the kinds of thoughts that even occur to you. Different thoughts arise different ingenuity, things like creativity, genius start to surface in your life experience because that's your true nature. So when we focus on one situation, one issue at a time, we lose sight of a bigger picture. And by expanding your awareness, you can see that everything is part of a larger divine unfolding. Look back to where you were a year ago. Look back to where you were 10 years ago. Look back if you're in a difficult situation and ask yourself, have you ever been in a difficult situation similar to this? Maybe different, but a challenging situation before. And here you are, yet here you are. So start to see that there is a pattern, that there has been a system at play in my life that has brought me to this point. And while it may feel like I'm repeating some things, I guarantee you, you're not repeating all of it. There's a different version of you that is present to these things now than there was 10 years ago. And what we want to do is amplify that. We want to collapse time on that. We want to learn how to magnify that progression so that it flows so rapidly that we can see change in a week, in a month, change in a month that we used to take a year to see, or 2 years, or 5 years to see in ourselves. And it can absolutely happen. It's a circuitry issue, friends. That's all it is. It's a circuitry issue. So we learn to build the circuits. It's what I'm constantly teaching in my coursework. It is available to you inside the Energy Codes book. It is available to you in my forthcoming book of The Anatomy of Awakening in even greater proportion. It's right here for you constantly. Simple tools to navigate uncertainty. And of course, inside of each of those spaces, you will find instruction on breath work. Take deep, intentional breaths. It will automatically calm your nervous system, and it will help you feel centered and grounded, more importantly than anything. And do inquire about meditation, even just a few moments a day to reduce stress, of course, but to bring clarity. But there, there's so much more available to you. When you learn to still the mind and allow what's underneath that thinking, driving mind to surface again, you start to become aware of the brilliance that you are made of. So I love it that people utilize meditation to reduce stress, but it is it is a feather floating on the surface of the ocean, and meditation offers you the entire ocean, all of it. There's so much more than just the reduction of stress available to you, and so you can look for. I'm creating new meditations and putting them out all the time. So keep your eye open for that. The support is here, coming as fast as I can get it out to you. Also, just the sensation of gratitude. It opens the heart and it allows the heart to play a bigger role in your life. So, when you're grateful for the shifts in your own energy, you begin to recognize that you have some say there. And the more grateful you are to the ability to shift your own energy field, the more you enhance your ability to shift your own energy field. And when you shift your own energy field, healing starts to happen. Innovation starts to happen. Creative genius starts to rise. So be grateful that you have the capacity to choose to pay attention what's going on in here, what's going on deep inside this core, not just what's going on in your outer world. Just feel the gratitude for your ability to choose where you put your attention. That alone. So you're not just grateful for these beautiful things that your friends do or your family members do or your workplace does for you or whatever it might be. It doesn't have to be that conditional, because what if all that stops and you don't have that? Then where are you? So, to truly experience your sovereignty, you have to experience gratitude for your own capacity to choose where you put your attention. Because where you put your attention is the reality that you're living in. Where you put your attention determines the reality that you're living in. So, bring it inside, bring it deeper in. I guarantee you it will open some doorways for you. So, if you bring your attention inside and it's all tumultuous and overwhelmed and feeling frightened or depressed or angry, have it. Have what you're having, because right on the other side of that is the certainty and the clarity and the joy that you're looking for in this life. It's the real you. It's right underneath all that muck that we've been sweeping under the rug for so long. So just take some big breaths with it. Breathe breath of fire. Breathe readily, with fierceness in your belly, over and over, exhaling and exhaling and exhaling. If the energies that are rising seem insurmountable, seem uncontrollable, seem like they're just overwhelming to you, do this breath of fire so that you can burn it up, so that you can transmute it, so that you can remain uh, in a moment of do over. You're having a moment of begin again, where you're not going to stuff that stuff in there again, only to have it come bursting out like this again in the future. You're going to work with them as they come up. You're going to honor them every day as they experience, as they arise, so that your system empties itself, because that empty system is a free system. And that freedom allows joy and certainty and clarity to rise all the time, constantly. So if you're feeling uncertain, it's just because you've been sticking too much stuff under there, packing it in, and now it's on the rumble and it wants to come up and out, and it will. So we're going to allow it to do so in a conscious and intentional manner. Find those anchor points, squeezing those muscles in the base of the pelvic floor, rolling your shoulders up and back and down, and pulling the blades together, dropping them down your back. Boom, 2 strong anchor points. Roll your eyes up and feel that space right behind your eyes. Now, constrict your throat just a little so that you can feel your own breath vibrating in your throat, ujjayi breathing. And now take a breath from overhead and breathe right down through the behind the eyes, right through the throat, into the heart, into the belly. Stretch open the solar plexus. Squeeze those muscles in the pelvic floor and exhale right down into the earth. Through the nose, in and out through the nose. Inhale up from the earth right into the belly, and exhale right up through that channel and right out the top of your head again. There we have it. There we have it. There's a little briefing for you. Use those anchor points and center yourself, anchor yourself. There is nothing bigger than you. You're made of the entire unified field. There is nothing bigger than you can handle. It's a circuitry issue. And if you're living deep inside your core, you have the wherewithal to be present with it. And if you are present with it enough, it comes up as joy and certainty and clarity, and a win is upon you. So keep that in mind. 'Cause sometimes people will come in and just feel what they're feeling, and for years, that's all they ever do, which is great. It's better than not. But ultimately, you want to allow this to cultivate itself into something even more magnificent. All right. And it will certainly show up as certainty. The world is not falling apart, it's evolving. Humanity is evolving. And all of the ruckus that you are witnessing and feeling, experiencing, is part of an awakening. There's never been a better time. We are on hyper alert. We can't trust the ways that we used to trust, but part of what we were trusting was an illusion. And so the disillusionment is the cracking away of that illusion, and the planting of our feet more deeply in the earth, and a rising up of more and more of the truth of who we are, able to see through the veils, able to put emotions in a different perspective and allow for them to serve us in terms of pure, raw fuel for this toric field system that we are. And so we are evolving. What we are witnessing is a part of a larger process. Just think of it in those terms. This is a necessary stir, and it looks like so many people are telling lies, and so many people are selling out and doing this and faking this and cheating in this way, and all sorts of crazy things. Just let it come and go. Let it be part of this toric field. Just nod and say, yep, this is what happens when disillusionment is upon us. So drop inside your belly and let the rock solid golden essence that is the truth of who you are to be what you're sitting as. Because what happens deep inside of you when you're in touch with that on a conscious level is the disillusionment births itself into a greater truth than you've ever known before. And you start to see, oh, it was always just trying to get me to see this, but I've been fighting it and arguing about it and, biting and scratching my way through all the while protecting some smaller version of myself that I am not meant to be. So be free. Let the universe, let the world, let life, let the day present to you what you're supposed to be tending to now, and trust it. Trust that what it's revealing to you, like if you've wanted something to go a certain way and it just won't, and it's been years, maybe it's not supposed to go that way. maybe, maybe either the universe like has some wisdom. And so just start adapting and adjusting and shifting and accepting and releasing this idea that you think it's supposed to go this certain way, because the universe has something better in store for you if you just let it pour in, fill you up in a different way. So when we stop resisting that and start embracing it, we find certainty right in the midst of uncertainty. That's how it works. So the universe is on your side. There's only one thing happening here, and it is the yes toward your own awakening. And so here on the Art of Awakening podcast, we're always trying to come at this from every angle that is available to humanity so that you can start to pierce those veils and learn about who you really are and experience, most importantly, that version of you that is empowered and that is creative and that has everything that is required to manifest a life that is joyous and clear and certain in all the ways that serve you in the highest. So hopefully this has been helpful for you today. Thank you for joining me on the Art of Awakening podcast, where we're always blending science and spirituality to empower you to create a life that you truly do love living, and so that we contribute to the world in a way that we were unable to before when we were just busy trying to survive. You're more than that. And so remember to subscribe and to share this episode. I have to say that when our listeners are sharing these, it is helping so many people and helping the podcast grow in its reach around the world and getting into the crevices and the nooks and the crannies of tiny little villages and towns around the world. And so when we do that, we all start vibrating together, dialing into a frequency that is truly changing the bandwidth of human consciousness altogether. We are redefining what it means to be human, and we're doing that together because together we are more. So until next time, I'm Dr. Sue Morter. Blessings, blessings to you all.